on my inaugural Sam Poole Design Team Day, which is so exciting because if I don't let everybody know enough, I adore Sam. I think she's a lovely young woman who's incredibly talented, and her heart is exactly in the right pink, green, French blue, and rose place, because that's where my heart is. This video is going to be in a couple of parts. I did not make a journal because I got pneumonia and I was laid up on and off for about 3 weeks. And for at least 2 weeks, I was laying on my couch, and there's not much you can do on your couch except if you're really in need of making crafts, you can print out a bunch of paper and have your husband retrieve it and bring it down to you on the couch, and you can then make things in your lap, which is what I did. And part A are the little things I made in my lap. So what I did is I made these unique and pretty little envelopes based on a Instagram post I saw on Susie Shabby Soul's Instagram several years ago. It was an envelope that was decorated. Now, mine are not as good as hers was. Hers is just, I would die to be able to make the one she made. But I was able to make some envelopes. And I started with these envelopes that, they look just like regular envelopes in this little packet. But what they are these wonderful, with this long flap and this long body. And what I've done with them is I've taken all sorts of Sam Poole papers and I have covered all the different parts of the envelope and made little pockets and stuffed it full of goodies. For instance, this one I made this sort of tag holder. This comes from the French greens, I think. I love that. Well, actually, I love every single Sam Poole packet. So I'm going to list in my YouTube description all the different packs I used, because I just took from everywhere. It was like potpourri. And I made this sweet little tag, and it goes, just slips in there like that and goes in this little pocket. And then let me see if I put anything inside this pocket. I can't remember if I did. Oh, I did. Okay, so I made another little notepad thingy with a combination of Sam Poole printouts and just a couple of an old ledger paper and some avocado dyed paper. And then when you flip it over, there's a little pocket full of more things, a little tag, and just a plain tag that you could decorate on your own. None of them are punched. They're just fun little tags. And that's envelope number 1. And I did all of this sitting on my couch in my lap. The second pocket is made with this really pretty little pink rose paper, and I did paper clip with a rusty paper clip some from the Botanical kit, these little stamps and this sweet journaling card. I love that kit as well. I love Botanicals, and I do love all the little pictures that come in that kit. And this I did not make. I bought it from Mary, and I'm going to list her shop below. I love her shop. She does the avocado dyed paper that's just so lovely, and I just don't have time to avocado dye paper, so I buy it from her. But this is a sweet little notepad that she made. And then the inside, I made a tuck spot for this one. I love these tags. I believe this comes from the Botanical kit as well. I just adore these tags, these little tabs. I love anything with numbers, and those are just so sweet. And I did make this little notepad myself with the Botanical kit. These are all from the Botanicals, And you can see they're just like, well, this one isn't, but I had to add that one because that's just one of those pretty Sam Poole pinky things, which are so darling. And here's a little postcard from the Botanical kit. Love the overlay of the pretty botanicals, and I love that sweet aquamarine stamp. But those go back into this little tuck spot of the envelope, and then you turn it over, and I would like to announce this is my new favorite girl. She comes from the Little French Book Kit, and so be on the lookout for her. I'm going to put her everywhere. I adore her. And I did make a sweet little journaling card, and here's a Sam journaling card, and they just look so pretty in this little pocket that comes with this envelope. This is a really fun little envelope. And then the third and final envelope I made on my lap while I had pneumonia was this one. Another one of the kits I love so much are the Sepia Couture and the Noir kits. they're just some of my favorites. I made another mostly Sam Poole journal that's also in my YouTube videos from the Noir kit and I think it's the French Spring or the Garden. I'll put it below. Anyway, so in this pocket, and you'll see I made the pocket. I used some torn bits of papers and little coffee filters. That's my sort of signature thing, coffee filters. And here's a sweet little, I don't know what this is, but I just love it. I love these ladies. And see, you just put these things inside the ladies inside they're just so much fun. And here's another little cute tag that I made with a little piece of old ledger paper, or not ledger, one of those legal papers. And that just goes back into this pocket. Well, actually, I think this one goes in first. And then I think this one goes in second, like that. And then if you turn it over, I have a little surprise. I did make this sweet little tag from one of the kits. I think this is I don't know which one it is, but I'm going to tell you below. It's a sweet little tag. But this is a special surprise because Rhonda, my friend from A Little Bit French, I discovered her about 3 years ago, and I was lucky enough to get in on one of her sales, and I bought this sweet little book that I can't ever part with, but it just fits so perfect in my pocket that I just decided I had to include her. And as you can tell, it's classic Rhonda. It's just beautiful and creamy and full of pretty French ladies. So that's part one of my Sam Poole design team project. This is the pneumonia part. Pneumonia part 2 carries over, but I was able to get up eventually and go back into my studio and make things. So we'll start part 2 in just a second. Okay, I am back with part 2A of my Sam Poole design project. It is June, and I get in my fairy making mood usually every June. And so I just decided, since I didn't really have time to make a full-blown journal like I would like to make, like the 3 previous ladies before me made the most gorgeous journals, I decided I was going to just make some little fairy projects along with my envelope projects using Sam Poole printables. And it also shows you what you can do besides make journals with her printables. And I made 4 different fairies, and at various levels of, I wouldn't say difficulty, but of time, time element, how long it took me to make them. So I'm going to start with my first little fairy. She's this little girl. Now I did color her because I just wanted her to have some pinks to stand out against the pinks that were used in this tag. I want to start by saying I adore this lilac tag, a lilac paper with the black background. I knew I had to use it for something, and I kept fiddling with it. I was going to use it on my envelopes, but I didn't. And when I got down to fairy making, suddenly it just dawned on me it would really set off this little girl, because she's fairly pale, but she's darling, and it looks like she's holding like a grape stem with leaves and grapes on it. But I do, she does have little wings. Her little saying is, might see a fairy. And I do love to use my mulberry paper flowers. I have quite a lot of these, and it's gonna probably take me a couple of years to work my way through them. I did use this coffee dyed tag as the holder for this fairy. But as you can see, she comes from, this is from the, I think it's the Ladies in White kit, and I'll list them all below. But this is one of my favorite little bitty cutout things that Sam makes. I love that thing, and I had cut it out and I got it already. What I tend to do is I build up my tags with either layers of cardboard, like I take leftover bits of cardboard like this and cut them up and then build them up by gluing them onto the back, or I do use my foam tape, which is covered in black thread, and I'll cut off little bits of it and stick it on the backs of things to give it a little bit of height. So there's little fairy tag number 1, and there's her back. I do like this thing leaving the strings. I used to cut them all off, but now I like to leave them, and I just love the way they sort of hang on and dangle around. So there's little fairy tag number 1. And here's the very first one I made. I made this one as soon as Sam announced her design team. I literally ran up to my studio that afternoon and just had to make something. So the kit, the little French book, had just been listed, and I saw these little girls, and oh, I fell in love with them. Knew they had to be fairies, and here they are in all their fairiness. And of course, they're Paris fairies, as probably all of Sam's fairies are Paris fairies. There's really, and you just would never know it, but Paris is full of fairies. So I did double cut this butterfly and layered on top of each other. I used the roses, gave them sort of a 3D effect with my foam tape. This is a coffee filter dyed pink. I just dyed it with food coloring. Here's some of the avocado dyed paper, and I do have a little touch of mica on this one, just some outlines of mica that gives it a little glittery. The mica makes it harder to take photos for listing in my Etsy shop. It's very difficult, and I'm still working out how to do that. I think I've discovered it's basically you have to take pictures in the dark and then fix the exposure. But here's the back. It's also made with papers from the little French book. But as this is a bigger card, but this was probably a more simple fairy project for me, at least, to make, just because I didn't do a lot of, in other words, I didn't color the fairies. I just rubbed a little of spun sugar Tim Holtz ink on them, and I just basically cut them out a couple of times and raised them up on their card. So those are the first set of fairies that I made, and now I will show you fairies 3 and 4, which I did have to have hanging on a door. So we will now shut this part down and then go to part C of this video. All right, this is part C of my Sam Poole design project, and here is fairy number 3. Once again, I did choose to take her and give her some color. I did do it in Photoshop, but you could easily color her with colored pencils. She is a blue fairy, and she is placed mostly on the French blue collection from Sam, because I love French blue. This bird comes from another kit, but I am gonna, as I said, I'm gonna put all those things below. I'll make a big long list. But this is a tiny remnant of some lace I got from Catherine. It's the very last bit of it, and I did do something sort of like conservationally, sort of. It is put on here with my foam tape. I did not glue it because I'm anticipating, you know, it's a paper product. Someday it may not be in this state unless it's framed in a glass frame, and you could still take this lace off and use it and it's still intact. And I have a hard time chopping up lace, but this lace was this exact piece, and so I felt okay about using it like this. As you can see, the mica does reflect a little bit, but I did make sort of mica wings coming out from one of her cards. Here's some lovely doily, and these little poofs I made a huge pile of these about 9 years ago, and I've saved my huge pile. I've been using them very sparingly, but I've got to make more. I just loved them. They're made out of crepe paper, and they're just, I've colored them with Tim Holtz inks at the edges. Here are some hydrangeas from my garden. They were pink to begin with, and I actually dried them to go on another fairy, but it didn't work out because they turned blue, but they really do look nice on her. Here's one of her series, Fairies and Such. And she is also, this little fairy is a Paris fairy. This is one of my favorite Sam Poole snippets. I'm probably gonna say that over and over. And her little saying is also, "You're not a fairy, are you?" Well, yes, I am. I am a very serious Parisian fairy. Here is a leaf from one of my hydrangeas. I do sort of dip them in Mod Podge and paint Mod Podge on them so that they are longer lasting. They don't fall apart quite as quickly as they might if they didn't have that protection on them. And this fairy, I'm going to try to turn it over so you can see the back. See if I can do this. This fairy, I have this saying. Okay, I'm going to do this without dropping the fairy. Okay, there. And this is one of my favorite bits of poetry, William Butler Yeats. "Come away, O human child, to the water and the wild, with a fairy hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than you can understand." And I did put that on the back of this fairy, so she's on there. I got it on the back of another fairy as well. But so this is the third fairy, and I'm now going to show you the fourth and final fairy. Let's hear a drum roll. Okay, we are now at the final fairy in our fairy show. You notice I've darkened the room so that you can get a good look, because without the room darkening, the glare off the mica is just too much. But this little fairy is my Parisian piece de resistance fairy. She is made with one of my favorite Sam Poole images, this darling little nymphy thing. I think she's actually a fairy. I did build up her wings with wings that I had. She is placed on the back of on the Sam Poole, I think it's a photo back from an old photo. It's gray, it's lovely, but I don't know if you can tell, I've embellished it. I did use sequins, and these sequins are really, really special because I bought them about 10 years ago. They were vintage sequins, and they're just, I can't hardly describe the patina of these sequins. They're so beautiful, and I did use little seed beads that I also have had for forever and ever. And it's hard to tell, but I did have little dangles of this. Another thing I've had for like 10 or 20 years, this really pretty sparkly pink thread. This is one of my favorite Sam Poole snippets from her snippet collection. I use it all the time. I just love it. Here's more of my little mulberry flowers. This ribbon is sari silk, and I did dye it, and I did it, it's sort of funny. I dyed it all at once in pink, blue, and yellow. I set out 3 custard cups full of pink, blue, and yellow, and I just sort of dangled it into each one. You can see that there's mica. The mica is lovely and cracked and old looking. Looks like an old piece of glass. It is on the backing papers are two. This backing paper here is full of sweet peas. And they go so well with my little, which I actually think this fairy's name is Sweet Pea. She's got to be Sweet Pea the fairy. But of course, here's the little label saying it's the Fairy House of Paris. And I did use this branch from my hurricane tree when we had a hurricane one year, came through, and I saved a whole bunch. My husband saved a whole bunch of these wonderful old branches for me. And I don't know what made me just put it on there. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like she's standing on a branch. And here's just a little tiny bit of ribbon up at the very top. But she's fairly large. You can see her hanging on the door here. She's just this kind of big. You can see the glare that comes off of her when I don't have it up close, but there she is. And there's my little doorknob. This is my closet door in my studio. But so here's little Sweet Pea the fairy, made with many, many layers. There's some, you can see there's some glitter down there, and many, many layers. And here's a piece of, this is all on a piece of cheesecloth that I did stiffen with gel medium. And here's a piece of old lingerie lace. It has a little bit of a stretch to it, but it's a sweet little old lace. Just the last bit. It's the last bit of that lace that I had. But I do love this fairy. I'm not sure if I'm going to sell her or not because she looks really good on this door. But so that, ladies, is the final bit of my Sam Poole design project, my very first one. Next time I'm making a journal. But I used so many different papers. I got so much inspiration from Sam's designs, and I hope you enjoyed my little show. Bye.